If you struggle with this section, then don't worry about it too much. I'll try to get you caught up personally during lunch. However, I do plan to use each foil here, and we want to step through very slowly so the new people can get used to the environment. For some of you that are more experienced and you want to move ahead, that would be fine, but we're going to go with a slower pace for those that have never been on the environment. We're going to be accessing the ZOS environment that has our labs in it, and that we're going to be using for the duration of the week. And once again, the system will be available for you for several weeks after this class is over. But we're going to access it 3 different ways: with a TN3270 emulator, with an FTP client, and SSH. So after we're done, we're hoping that you can access ZOS using this TN3270 emulator, using a ZOS, accessing ZOS using SSH. I prefer PuTTY myself, but there's other SSH clients, and then access using FTP. Now, there are many FTP clients. However, I prefer to use the command prompt myself and just use line commands. So the way I'll demonstrate it is just using the client command prompt, the command line interface. Okay, so on your TN3270 emulator, you're going to use an IP address of, and I'm going to actually type it in first, hit enter, and then read it off. Okay, in the chat line, you'll actually see where I typed in an IP address, and the IP address is 192.86.32.14, and to get to the 3270 portion applications, we configured the machine to use port 623. If you use TN3270 emulator, inside the emulator, typically they have port 23 set up. But we're going to use port 23 for it gets used for Telnet. But we've configured it to use port 623. So what I would like for you to do is to actually configure your TN3270 emulator, and depending upon the emulator that you have, it can navigate a little bit differently to configure the environment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my desktop right now to actually show you the emulator that I'm using and how I configure it, and what you should see once you connect to the lab system. What's on the screen right now is a screenshot of a different system. This actually is at Marist College, and it's on the public internet for education. Now, I'm going to actually start screen sharing and show you my real desktop. So, for those of you that can see the shared screen, you'll see where Bruce typed in his user ID, and then he's going to the right-hand side control key. And what now you see is the TSOE logon, and this is where Bruce is going to type in the password Blue Sky. We're going to cover this again for you, Dudley, with the presentation. Now, once he types in the password and enter, right-hand side control, it prompts him for a new password. So the new password can be 1 to a maximum of 8 characters. It can be anything. You just want to remember it. So, Bruce, why don't you type in a new password and enter, and you'll actually see that it asks you to verify your new password. Once you've logged in, you will get a series of messages. You'll also observe that you'll get 3 asterisks near the bottom. The 3 asterisks, it's estimating a full page. Sometimes it is a full page, sometimes it is not. But whenever you see 3 asterisks, it's expecting you to do the enter key, which is control right side, to proceed. So Bruce, why don't you do the control right side to enter, to proceed. And Bruce is proceeding with the log on. It takes a little bit of time to get fully logged on because we're allocating many, many libraries, many data sets. At this point, what Bruce is looking at what's called the ISPF primary option menu. Now, what I would like for Bruce to do is to stop screen sharing and go back to the presentation. Now, Dudley, this is going to be for you. We're going to go over the same thing, but in the presentation. So this screen here, Dudley, it doesn't look exactly like your screen, but on this screen, you would type in TSO and enter, which is the control right side. Bruce, let's go on to the next screen. You should see this screen here. You tab down, you can use the tab key or the arrow keys to place the cursor into the password field. In the password field, you type in blue sky and enter. Don't go next yet, Bruce. Once you type in the new password and enter, it will automatically tab you over to the new password field. In the new password field, you can type in 1 to a maximum of 8 characters and enter. Then what it's going to do, it's going to prompt you to enter the new password a second time. Once you enter the password a second time and validly match it, go ahead and go forward, Bruce. You're going to begin to get logged on. Once you begin to get logged on, you will see system messages that will come out. Whenever you see 3 asterisks, do enter, which is control on the right-hand side, to get fully logged on. Eventually, you should see what's called the ISPF primary option menu. For those of you remote, any of you that did get to the ISPF primary option menu, would you please raise your hand? Anyone successfully getting on to the ISPF primary option menu, please raise your hand. Oh, good. So Dudley got on okay. Robbie's on. Lisa's on. Oh, no IBMers. Don't the IBMers raise your hand. So I want you. Okay, so we have a couple of people that may not have successfully got logged on yet. So we will be working with you maybe during lunchtime to try to get you successfully logged on. Because we will be using the 3270 emulator throughout the week, but it's not mandatory. If you were not to get your 3270 emulator working at all, you could still observe. But I'll be working with some of you that have not gotten it on. Why don't you lower everyone's hand, lower all. And now what I would like is anyone that has not successfully gotten onto the ISPF primary option menu, please raise your hand. I want to make a list of the people I need to get back to. So anyone that has not gotten to the ISPF primary option menu, please raise your hand. Right, so they'll probably raise their hand. So Keith is not on, Justin's not on. Why am I not seeing hands raised there, Bruce? Because we just lowered. No, we lowered the hands of the people that did get logged on. Right. There we go. So anyone not, so Keith is not on. Oh, you could have left it up there. So Keith and Justin right now are probably the only 2 people not logged on. I'm going to assume that the rest of you have successfully gotten logged on.
They're on. I don't know if they're on ISPF, but they're
Oh, you did an operator thing? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what we're going to do right now, you'll notice that the screen, the presentation screen, you'll notice at the bottom of it, it says licensed materials. Bruce, why don't you do the pointer, the yellow pointer. Go down to the licensed materials, see right there. Now, if you press enter, which is the control right side, you'll actually see that that license message will go away. Oh, Bruce, you don't need to click multiple times. But go ahead and go to the next page, Bruce. So once you did enter, you'll notice that the licensed message went away. And for those of you that are logged on, you'll notice, and Bruce, I'll tell you what, why don't you go ahead and make me the presenter at this point because I'm not screen sharing. Can you guys in the room see my screen now? Okay, so at this point, I've actually got control. And what I want to point out here is on this ISPF primary option menu, there are these settings here. Like there's settings, which is 0, 1. So these are called panels. And we're going to be discussing this more. But all I would like for you to do is down on the option line, and the way you get to that line, you can use the tab or arrow keys to get there. And where it says option, you just type in equal 0. Equal 0. And if you type in equal 0 and enter, which is control on the right side, it will take you to another panel called the ISPF settings panel. Now on the ISPF settings panel, you'll notice here where I have the cursor that there is a slash in the command line at bottom. And notice the command line is at the bottom. What I would like for you to do is if you place your cursor inside of there, and the way you do that is with either the tab key or arrow key, or you can actually use the mouse and place the cursor there. I want you to blank out that / in the command line at the bottom. So if you just blank that out, and I mentioned here, space over to remove the first 4 of them. So if you can remove that one, remove that one, remove that, and remove that. What I intend to do is place the command line at the top. By removing that /, that's what that would do. So if you remove that / and then enter, which is control right side, and then F3. F3 is to exit or return. I'm going to go on to the next page. If you did the F3, that's fine. You'll actually see, if you did the F3, you have the command line at the top now. And I refer to it as the command line, but even though it says option up there, it's the command line. So what I want to show you now is just to exit this session. Now, for those of you that didn't get on, we're going to be using, well, we'll get you on a little bit later. And for those of you that did get on, you'll be able to navigate this quicker as time goes on. So I just want to get you out of the TN3270, out of the 3270 emulator at this point. If you type in equal X, X is to terminate the ISPF session. So just type in equal X and enter. If you type in equal X and enter, you're going to get what's called the ready prompt. The ready prompt is a command line interface that we're going to be talking about later, but here you can type in log off, LOGOFF, and enter. This will actually log you off the TN3270 emulator. Now, for those of you that are remotely, I knew this session, doing it remotely, would be very difficult because it's very easy for us to look over people's shoulders. A little bit more difficult when you're remote. Hopefully this one's going to be a little bit easier now. Oh, before we go on to the other sessions, I want to point out that on the TN3270 emulator, you'll notice that the enter key is the control on the right side, and we'll be talking about some of these other keys later on during the week, like F3 to exit or return, F1 to help, and PA1 is the attention key. So we'll be using some of these later in the week. Okay, what I would like for everyone to do is, if you have PuTTY, if you don't have PuTTY, there's a place you can download PuTTY from on the internet. You can actually just go to do a search and look for PuTTY download. And all you need is the PuTTY EXE. That's all you need. There's a lot of PuTTY ones, but all you need is the PuTTY EXE. Once you launch the PuTTY EXE, you'll actually get a panel like what you see in the screenshot that you're looking at in the presentation. What I would like for you to do is, in the host name area, you're going to put the IP address of this system. You're going to put 192.86.32.14. You can leave the port as port 22 because that's the well-known port for the SSH daemon. And I assume the SSH daemon has started. So anyone can go ahead and try to get into Unix using the SSH client right now. Okay, so the SSH daemon was just started. So anyone that wants to try to use PuTTY to access the SSH daemon can do that using the screen that we have. Anyone that successfully connects to port 22, please raise your hand. That's on the chat line. So I give everyone a little bit of time to attempt to SSHN. So it looks like we already have two people. Dudley and Lisa have managed to get to the Unix port. For those of you that managed to get connected to the SSH daemon, I'm going to move forward one screen. You'll actually see a logon as, and what you can do in the logon as is give it your assigned user ID. So you simply type in your assigned user ID, ZIBM 0, whatever it is. Then you will be prompted for a password. So you type in your user ID, type in your password, and again, your password here is whatever you set it to. It's your password. So anyone that gets successfully logged in to the ZOS Unix shell prompt, please raise your hand. Anyone from the outside. So Dudley's got the command prompt, Lisa, Ravi. And I realize that Justin and Keith are still having a little bit of a problem, which we'll try to get worked out a little bit later. Okay, I'm going to advance to the, oh, by the way, on the screen, we won't do a lot of Unix things right here, right now. In the interest of time, we will later. To get out of the SSH session, just type in exit. And if you type in exit, that will terminate that session. I'm going to move forward. Now, what I would like for you to do is bring up a workstation command prompt. For example, if you're in Windows, you can do a run command. And sometimes in Windows 7, you actually do need to use the run command to get to the FTP stuff. So the client, they moved with Windows 7, but what I would like for you to do is from a command prompt, just type in FTP and then the IP address of our lab system. As you see on the screen that's in front of you. So you're going to type in FTP, and in this case, 192.86.32.14, and then enter. So to repeat, FTP space 192.86.32.14, and enter. Oh, by the way, the enter now is your true PC enter, because this is not 3270 emulator. It's a little bit awkward. You get used to that control right side, but here the enter key is the true PC enter key. Once you enter that FTP session, it's going to prompt you for your user ID. Simply type in your user ID and then enter. It will prompt you for your personal password and type that in. You will find that you will get an FTP command prompt. Okay, anyone that successfully gets an FTP command prompt, would you please raise your hand? From here, you can type in quit to exit the FTP session. So, for 3 people remotely and some of the people in the room here, you managed to access ZOS using the TN3270 emulator. Okay, what we're going to be doing now, we're going to be going on to the next section.